Hey, everybody. How's it going? We're going to talk about the full moon lunar eclipse here. I'm just getting set up, making sure I'm live everywhere. All right. So, this full moon is in the sign of Sagittarius. And I do have to go ahead and explain a little bit about the actual physical mechanism of the full moon lunar eclipse. So, of course, a full moon is the moon opposite the sun. And you can see on an astrology chart where eclipses happen by looking at something called the nodes of the moon. And they look like little horseshoes. The nodes are where the shadow falls. So, for instance, the Earth will be in between the sun and the moon during the lunar eclipse. And as such, during the solar eclipse, the moon will be in between the Earth and the sun. So I think that's really important for everyone to know, because I don't know that I ever really, before I got super into astrology, understood the physical mechanisms of how eclipses and retrogrades worked. And a retrograde will be coming with the next eclipse, the solar eclipse. And it just looks like things are going backwards in the sky with a retrograde. They're not actually going backwards. But I think that's really, really important because the whole point of speaking the language of astrology is to connect with the physical part of it, for me anyway. Okay, so there's 12 signs in the zodiac, and every year and a half or so, the nodes of the moon move to different signs. So the eclipses move to different signs every year and a half or so. And don't quote me on that. It's not exact. So that means every 18 years, the eclipses come back to the same place that they were. So 18 years ago, you can think back, and there was a lunar eclipse in Sagittarius. What was going on for you? Everyone will have Sagittarius in a different place in their chart. I have Sagittarius in the area of the chart that governs work and health and routine. And I will go through the rising signs later. So if you know your rising sign, toward the end of the video, I will go through and tell you exactly what the lunar eclipse in Sagittarius means for your specific rising sign. And that being said, before that, I'm going to give a more collective version of what the lunar eclipse in Sagittarius means, what the archetypes associated with these things are. So astrology tracks the movement of planets through time and space. And I think that's another very important thing to know, because if you just track it through space, well, then you're doing more sidereal astrology where you're looking and it looks like it's against a certain constellation. But tropical astrology tracks it through time as well. So we know that the seasons are governed by when the sun ingresses a certain sign. So the Aries point, the sun moving into Aries, is the spring equinox. The summer solstice is when the sun moves into Cancer. So these things are all actually related to our real lives. We don't have to believe in astrology. Astrology is a real thing. It's a language that we speak. So with the lunar eclipse being in Sagittarius, the archetype associated with it is knowledge, beliefs. It's the sign of the guru. It is abundance, adventure, travel. That's just the sign. And the sign is like an adjective. It's like a descriptor, okay? The actual mechanism of the planets and luminaries that we're having is the sun, Earth in the middle, moon over here. Moon is in Sag, sun's in Gemini. The Earth's right in the middle. We're caught in the middle of this, okay? As people, we're right in the middle of this lunar eclipse. So the moon governs our emotions. A lot of astrologers will equate it with the soul. It is the planet that is nurturing. It's the planet luminary of the mother, okay? So when a shadow is thrown on that, our emotional connection, especially with knowledge, what we believe to be true, is reset. So this specific lunar eclipse is going to be extremely auspicious for getting rid of an old narrative, a narrative that maybe is running through our heads, our minds, our hearts, that we no longer want to believe. Now, this may not even be conscious, okay? Things fall away during eclipses, especially full moon lunar eclipses, especially south node full moon lunar eclipses, which is what this is. So let me explain what the south node is. It's known as the tail of the dragon. It is our karmic past. And if you don't believe in past lives or don't want to subscribe to that, then it could be just your past in this lifetime. And I think it's a little bit of both, no matter what. So old narratives, what could those be, right? I'll just give myself as an example, the fact that I have the lunar eclipse south node happening in my 6th house. I have old narratives around my health that I want to let go of and delete, and really use this lunar eclipse to say, I'm done with it. I'm done with that. Routines is another thing for the 6th house. So when I go through the rising signs, just keep in mind that you'll be letting go of something in this area. Now, there's some other things going on with this lunar eclipse that need to be explained. So it's square in a tense aspect, we'll say, to the planet Jupiter. Jupiter in astrology actually is at home in Sagittarius. It is the ruler of Sagittarius. So this full moon's ruler is in a tense, or you could say creative tension aspect with this full moon. It's in Pisces. And the other side of this eclipse is the sun, obviously, in Gemini, because the sun has to be throwing its light for there to even be a full moon. And this blood flower moon, there's so many adjectives for this full moon that I've really been laughing about it. I've read like NASA is like, it's the full flower moon, and it's a super blood moon, and it's a lunar eclipse, and all those things are true. It's all of that. And I think that they called it the flower moon because that's when flowers were blooming. You know, maybe indigenous people called it the full flower moon. So that being said, the sun is in Gemini, and Gemini is the sign of thinking and communicating. So if Sagittarius, the opposite sign, is the sign of knowing and the guru and your truth and what you believe to be true and the stories that you are made up of, that your life is made up of. Gemini is new information. It is thinking, it's communicating, it's listening. It's sort of a frenetic energy. So an opposition in astrology is both of these things combined. So this Sagittarius full moon is really having almost a stop put on the things that you think you know. And this Gemini energy is very, very strong. There is also Venus in Gemini. There's also Mercury in Gemini, the sun, and it'll even be at the time of the full moon lunar eclipse in Birmingham, Alabama. Gemini will even be rising. The sun will be rising. It'll be 6:13 a.m. And then, of course, the north node, which is known as the head of the dragon. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things in Gemini right now as we speak, and also as we come into this lunar eclipse. So there is this idea of new information, of a quietness, of a, I'm not sure how things are going to go. And any astrologer who's predicting things from here, I'm not so sure about it, because I don't think we're meant to know in this time. Now, here's the thing with Jupiter square both of these planets, I think this brings in a certain amount of fog, confusion, disillusionment, now also magical, spiritual, mysticism, all of those things. And you roll all that into a ball and you get kind of, well, what I've been saying is carnival time. Let's explore that a little bit. A carnival. What is a carnival like for some? Some people are very scared of a carnival. So are we going to bring up fears? Probably. Some people are scared of clowns, right? Some people like the excitement of a carnival. They like the rides, right? So there is a little bit of this excitement as well. Sometimes the lights are just so magical. A carnival is so magical. My kids love to go to the carnival, right? And then you have the magic aspect that's actually at a carnival. You have the magicians or the carnival game operators that are doing the old bait and switch, right? I can guess your weight, that sort of thing. So there is a lot of this circusy carnival energy right now. And I would expect that even leading up to this full moon, that there's going to be synchronicities, things that you keep hearing, words that you keep hearing. Why am I hearing the same word? Why is Hawaii keep coming up in my consciousness? Why did that person talk about Hawaii? And then I was planning a trip to Hawaii, and then that person said their dad was from Hawaii, and it just keeps happening. Hawaii, Hawaii, Hawaii. I'm saying this because it's happened to me, and it's very, very creepy. As someone who expects synchronicities in daily life, synchronicities are my favorite thing about life. It's like this cosmic giggle, you know. Even if you're someone who doesn't subscribe to woo-woo, or you find yourself to be very scientific, you will have synchronicities. Those things are a true thing in life. Carl Jung explained synchronicities. Oh, you see my henna? I forgot about that. That was went to a wedding this past weekend and had some henna done. I just forgot about it, and I thought maybe I should show it off. So yeah, synchronicities, the same people coming in, the same words being said. I want you to pay attention to those right now. This is very much an Alice in Wonderland, a Wizard of Oz, a really sort of like, what's happening? I'm being caught up in this. I don't know what is the grand scheme about? What is the future hold? It's very foggy. This is the Jupiter in Pisces, and Jupiter expands this. So it's kind of like on the edge of your seat. You don't quite know what's coming around the bend. And you could say that even without looking at astrology and just looking at reality right now, just looking at the actual things going on in reality. We've got our minds being blown by certain discoveries. You know, physics is not going to operate the same way because of this physicist found this new thing. And half of Americans believe that our president isn't our president. And, you know, this famous person was involved in a cult, and reality is a little mind blowing. Are we going to make it around the bend with COVID? Like, is this summer going to cause a spike? Is it not? And then you have the aspect of getting back out and being social, and the PTSD that might bring in, you know. And so things are just a little weird, a little creepy. And that's exactly how I've felt this eclipse coming in. It's not going to be, you know, normal. Get ready for the ride. Get ready for the what is that one that slings you around and you're squeezed a little bit and it's fun and you're screaming, but you're also squeezed and uncomfortable. That's the ride I'm thinking of. The Scrambler. That's what it's called. The Scrambler. This is a little bit of a scrambler sort of situation. Okay, but there's other things going on that we need to talk about. So it is super interesting to note, and I'm going to refer to the eclipse coming up as well past this. On June 10th, there's a solar eclipse. In the middle of these eclipses is when this is going to be most rampant, I think, this feeling. And I do need to say that both this eclipse and the next eclipse, by the way, this eclipse happens tomorrow morning at 6:13 a.m. And then the June 10th one is the solar eclipse, and it's connected to Neptune in Pisces. So this is a bigger thing that I want to talk about. That's not just specific to this eclipse, but it makes sense to explain with this eclipse. And that is Jupiter, which is the traditional ruler of Pisces, and Neptune, which is the modern ruler of Pisces, are both going to meet in the sign of Pisces next year. Early next year. And the fact that these eclipses are connected to both the lunar to the Jupiter and the solar to Neptune is extremely telling to me. It's not just telling, uh it's it's full, it's full of something. It's like a balloon being blown up, like, well, what is this going to mean? Now, I did some research on the Jupiter Neptune conjunctions in Pisces specifically. So you have to think about this. As people, as humans with a brain, we know that you can't see Neptune with the naked eye. So for a long, long time, Jupiter, which you can, ruled two signs. It ruled Sagittarius and Pisces. And to see the modern ruler, when we discovered Neptune, we attributed it to Pisces, okay? To see the modern and the traditional rulers come together is a very interesting thing, especially if you are into astrology, which I don't expect everyone is. People are just like, cut to the chase, Mandy. I want to know what it does for me, what it says for me. I will, promise. But let me explain this, because there are things that may come up that have come up previously. I wonder if I should get my notebook out. 1690 was a Jupiter-Neptune conjunction in Pisces, and it is associated with the Catholic Protestant wars, okay, or war, whatever you want to say, in England. And strangely enough, it followed the same pattern month-wise back in 1690. So this is the thing about Jupiter and Pisces. It's only going to be there till the end of July. And then it moves back into Aquarius, it retrogrades. And then at the beginning of the year, next year, it goes back in for a few months. And it did the same thing in 1690. And here's the thing. There are things happening during this Jupiter and Pisces transit that we can't see that will pop off once Jupiter moves into Aries. And that's my personal theory on this. Aries is active, and that will happen around, I believe, May of next year. Okay. So there are illusions. There are things happening behind the scenes during this Jupiter and Pisces transit that I don't think we can know. And so I just want you guys to pay attention and be very discerning, especially around these eclipses, since they're connected to both. Be very discerning with the things you get involved in. In fact, maybe don't jump on an opportunity until maybe, further on down the road, at least maybe July. Because I'm not saying don't jump on an opportunity. This is not, hard and fast life advice, but I do want you to be extremely discerning. Jupiter and Neptune will help expand our intuition. So if you're going against the intuitive grain, so to speak, that's when you get into trouble, okay? Now, the other things that happened around this time, 1690, were the American government first issued paper money. It's interesting that there was a few bank stuff that happened, and we're dealing with some economic things happening as well. And then in 1855, there was also a Jupiter-Neptune conjunction. Same thing. We had some printing. The printing Daily Telegraph was started. We had some bank stuff. I believe Barclays was founded, which is an investment firm. Now, I'm going to also bring in a couple other things. And this is not Jupiter and Neptune. This is just Jupiter and Pisces. But in 1998, Google was founded. And in 2010 was the first test Instagram. Okay. So this has a lot to do with the dissemination of information. And I find it extremely interesting that both of these eclipses have Mercury heavily involved. Both the fact that Mercury rules Gemini and Mercury is about to go retrograde in Gemini. Okay. So definitely being very discerning about the information that you're taking in, about the things that people say to you, about the theories you hear, about maybe, people are trying to pull the wool over people's eyes right now. That's just how I feel. And that's why I think cults are definitely a thing. In fact, There was just recently in the news, a cult leader was found dead, and like they had preserved her body or something. Like, this stuff is going to ramp up over the next year, and definitely these eclipses are going to bring it out too. So don't join a group that's promising these big things and like, we're going to get you to heaven and no. Be very discerning, be grounded as much as you possibly can. Now, that being said, connection with the divine is fine. It's totally fine. In fact, it's encouraged. Meditation, maybe even what do I want to say? Maybe even messages from spirit, messages from the divine. Okay, that's an absolute possibility as well. So I'm not saying don't try to connect with the divine, not by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just saying don't get taken for a ride, is what I'm saying. Okay, so that covers a lot of the collective meaning of this. I do want to say that we're building up to another Uranus-Saturn square, which is highly, oh gosh, no, I forgot about one collective thing. The Jupiter and Neptune conjunctions in Pisces also had a whole lot to do with the abolitionist movement. So Jupiter, Neptune, and Pisces back in 1855 just preceded Bloody Kansas, which is when the abolitionists were pushing for freedom, and the slaveholders were pushing for slavery. Okay, back in 1655, 1650, same thing. So we can have these issues coming up, and not necessarily slavery, but maybe just racial equality things coming up. Those are already a theme right now. And then that brings me to the Saturn-Uranus square, which is highly implicated in social unrest, social upheaval. Saturn is rules. Saturn is the patriarchy. Uranus is freedom and innovation. And those things, that's building, that's going to be exact again, I believe, June 14th. So we're building again to that square with Saturn retrograde now. So just keep that in mind. Anything else? Let's see. I do want to just say Mars is in Cancer right now, and it is during this lunar eclipse nearly exactly trine to Neptune. So to use this as a catalyst to let go of some emotions that aren't serving you, some maybe you're holding on to an emotion that, like you do as a kid, you have that blanket or that teddy bear that you drag around that is dirty and nasty and has holes in it and falling apart. That's a lot of the types of emotional baggage that we could be releasing during this time. And Mars trine Neptune really does support us in that. And it being a lunar eclipse, the moon being our emotional stories in Sagittarius, the emotional narratives that we have about life, we can really harness this lunar eclipse to let it go. Very much so. Chiron is pretty well sextile to the North Node as well during this lunar eclipse. And then that would be trine to the South Node. So there is a lot of healing of your right to be authentic, your right to move forward in this life, let go of the stories that that are just negative. And I love to give the example of, I had a family member when I was very, very young tell me that, I couldn't fit into something because I was chubby. And whether or not I intellectually believe that in my mind, whether or not I've done the body positivity stuff, it doesn't matter. That will run through your own narrative for as long as you live, every time you look in the mirror, right? So harness this to let go of those crappy things from your childhood, maybe from a relationship where they told you, whatever, and you just let that narrative run. Maybe the narrative that, I'm just not good enough to get that job, or the narrative that I'm just not smart enough to invest my money, or I don't have enough money. I mean, you can, obviously the permutations of possibilities are endless there. So maybe you spend this time while the moon is in Scorpio today, leading up to this lunar eclipse, to say, okay, I'm going to really dig deep. What can I harness? What old narrative do I want to let go of that's not serving me? That is very important right now. And I'm going to tell you what, you may have it ripped away as well. Okay. So the lunar eclipses are notorious for fated events, meaning people leaving your life, things leaving your life. And I do want to say, this is not, this is not fear mongering. This is exactly the carnival energy. The carnival is exciting and scary. Okay. There's some fear associated with what we're letting go of. And I think that that's something to be easy with yourself on, and to know that if there is anything that decides to take an exit during this time, that it is serving your higher purpose. And this is not spiritual bypassing at all. This is how I choose to look at it, because I've had things taken away from me, like hardcore taken away, like the father of my children, right? So when you have things taken away, it sucks and you grieve it, and that's okay. But ultimately, the future, the time keeps moving. Okay. Things keep moving, and you will see the doors that open in the future, especially. So we're letting go, right? We're discarding old narratives about our life with this lunar eclipse. Let me give you a little secret about the solar eclipse. We're writing the new story then. Okay. And here's another way I've equated this, is that if you know anything about like Apple products, or even, I guess, any product that gets an update, okay, you have to download the update. And sometimes you go to download the update and your memory's full. And you're like, oh, I got to delete some stuff. I really want this update. That's what this is. We're getting an update. We're all getting an update. You're going to have to delete some stuff to make room. So delete the things that you know are holding you back, the narratives that are holding you back that you don't want anymore. And maybe it's just a tired narrative. Maybe you're just tired of it. You're bored with it, like, oh, I'm this in the world, and this is what I am, and this is what I am, and it's boring. Okay, well, let's discard it. Make room for the new story. Things will be changing. Timelines will shift during this time. Dreams may pop off. I had some dreams last night. Whoa. Whoo. And I really am. I'm approaching this just like I would a carnival. I'm very excited. There's a lot I don't know, like a lot I won't expect. And the synchronicities abound, and the lights are magical, and the clowns are scary, and the fun house is an equal amount of both. So this is what this is. Now I'm going to go through the rising signs. Yay. So if you know your rising sign, pay attention. This also works for sun signs. So if you, whatever sun sign you are, but I like the rising signs better because it indicates the house system that it's happening in. So, and you can listen for whoever you know. Now, here's a little bit of an extra piece to this. If you have any planets in the early degrees of the mutable signs, so that would be Gemini, Sagittarius, Pisces, and Virgo, pay attention. This is directly affecting you. And if you have any planets in any fire signs, pay attention, because this is supporting you. And just, the best way to look at this is to know your own chart. I do have some $44 45-minute quickie eclipse season sessions if you would like to know yourself. All right, so I'm gonna go through the rising signs here. Aries rising. You're exactly the fire sign that I'm talking about, right? You are the initial first fire sign. And now I've lost it on my chart. Let me get it back. Hold on one second. Aries rising. I have to follow this, because if I don't follow the chart, I'll get confused. Here we go. All right. This lunar eclipse for you is happening in your 9th house. The 9th house is very similar to the sign of Sagittarius. It represents what you know to be true about reality. So you're really letting go of some beliefs that may be holding you back, for sure. Maybe some things that you are tried and true knowledge, maybe a life direction, maybe even some ideas around traveling or higher education. Okay, so you're discarding some old narratives there. Like, let me give some examples, like, oh, I'm too old to go back to school, or I don't know enough to start teaching this, discarding it. Okay, we're getting rid of it. Jupiter in Pisces is square in your 12th house of spirituality and escapism. And so there may be an extended amount of time that you need to be in a quiet space in order to let this percolate. Maybe even isolate yourself, go out into the woods for a day or two, and just really listen in and see what messages you're getting, because the solar eclipse is coming in your 3rd house, and that's decisions, communicating. That's some quick energy. Okay, so take the time for this 2 weeks to really sit with what beliefs you want to let go of, what truths that may not be true for you anymore. All right. And I would even say about yourself, because Aries is a fire sign and this lunar eclipse is fire. So this could have to do a lot with who you are as a person, maybe the beliefs about how you're seen, how you want to show up. Okay. So Taurus rising or Taurus sun, this is happening in your 8th house of investments, contracts, business partnerships. So you're really letting go of an old narrative about how you share yourself with others, what belongs to you, the contracts you make with people. So you could be making or breaking contracts. I would assume with it being the lunar south node eclipse, you might be walking away from some contracts. Inheritance also being a thing, transformation. So you're really digging deep, doing some shadow work for this. Business partnerships may exit or enter. So let go of some old beliefs about maybe what you have to give and what you want to receive. Make sure the contracts that you're in serve you and not someone else. Jupiter in Pisces is square in your 11th house of networking and future goals. So there's something brewing with the tribe that you belong to. And it's really asking you to let go of something there as well. So if there is a group of people that you're with that don't support you, if your goals need to shift, like I could see, for instance, if a business partnership comes in or leaves, then you have to adjust your goals. And this will ultimately help you clear the way for more money, for more self-worth, for more assets. So, but first you got to get rid of the ones that are holding you back. Let go of the old contracts, let go of whatever you need to make room for abundance. Okay. All right. Gemini rising, Gemini sun. This is in your 7th house of relationships. So you're really letting go of some old beliefs around who is in your life, what's in your life. This could be love, it could be friendship. I tend to say both. Your relationship with the truth, your relationship with reality. Oh no, my Instagram paused. I hope I'm back. Okay. So your relationships, for sure, you are letting go of old beliefs there. Now, the Jupiter in Pisces is square in your 10th house of career. Okay. So there's some life direction that's also going to be seeded, especially during the solar eclipse in June. So in order to make way for a greater abundant, say, career or legacy or life direction, you have to let go of the old beliefs about how much you're worth in relationships, about who you should be around. You're going to need people in your life, but maybe not the old people. Okay. So Gemini risings, just be sure to, I would work with the beliefs around relationships for sure. You know, this is not to say that you should just like break up with your friends or anything or your partner. This is to say, if there is a belief that's not serving you about relationships, that's what you're letting go of. All right, Cancer rising, Cancer sun. This is happening for you in your 6th house of health, daily life, and routine. So letting go of some old beliefs there, like, oh, if I eat that donut, I'm gonna gain 10 pounds. And the reason I say this is because I'm a Cancer rising and I'm very insulin resistant. So, but we were letting go of those narratives. We're also letting go of the narrative that, you know, I'm just not good at routine. I just can't wake up and do that every morning. No, letting go of that. We are deleting that narrative. Okay. Also, this is a work area. So it's like the work you do every day. So when I say that, I mean, it could be, watering your garden. There's something about routine and daily life that you're letting go of a belief that's holding you back. Jupiter and Pisces is in your ninth house of higher education and travel and adventure. And so it's saying, hey, if you want all of this, you have to let go of that belief that's holding you back. Life has much more possibility than you're allowing yourself. Cancer risings and Cancer suns. All right. Leo rising and Leo sun. This is in your fifth house of joy and excitement and children and inner child and romance. Okay. So you got to let go of old narratives there. If you have some belief or voice in your head that's saying, you were always told to be quiet as a kid. You were always told that you can't have fun because fun keeps you from doing what you need to do. Okay. All of these beliefs is what we're letting go of. Beliefs around how much fun you can have with life. Jupiter in Pisces is square, and it's in your eighth house of business partnerships and contracts. So it could have something to do with that in a way. I would just keep that in the back of your mind. Especially if someone's holding you to something that is not fun anymore for you. Make sure your life is fun. Make sure you are supporting yourself in play, especially for Leo risings. This is very important. Creativity. Let go of the old beliefs that maybe you're not creative, that you don't have time to play, that you have so many obligations. All of those beliefs is what you're letting go of. All right. So Virgo rising, Virgo sun. This is happening for you in the area of home, family, roots, ancestry. So you're going to let go of old beliefs that have been seeded in you from early childhood, especially around what home and family is, what your home life should look like or will look like. So Jupiter in Pisces is in your seventh house of relationships right now. So somehow that is connected into this lunar eclipse. What are your relationships supporting you? I believe for Virgo risings and Virgo suns, that relationships are a key to this lunar and solar eclipse because Jupiter and Neptune is there in your seventh house. So let go of old beliefs around, your home life, around what it has to look like. Maybe you give yourself so much and you have to, work for, to keep your partner happy or to do this or that. Or maybe you feel like, you're a stay-at-home mom and you're just never going to be successful out in the real world. Or maybe you feel like you are, tired of working from home, but home is a big deal for this lunar eclipse for you. Let go of those old beliefs that are holding you back around your home, family, roots, like I'm going to be just like my mom or my dad, no, you don't have to tell yourself that story. Okay. Your home is your home. Your life is your life. Okay. So Libra risings, Libra suns. This lunar eclipse is happening in your third house. Now, this is about decision making for Libra risings and Libra suns. This is what I'm thinking. So, if you've had a thing you keep telling yourself about a decision coming up or that you want to make, you can not make that decision. Sometimes we hold fast to the things we believe. Well, we believe this to be true, so I'm going to just go that direction. You can let go of maybe things that you believe that you've been even read in a book, especially with it being the third house. The third house is learning, right? Teaching. So what beliefs about the way you learn, about the way you communicate, can you be letting go of? This also has a lot to do with your daily routine and work situation because Jupiter and Neptune are in your sixth house of work, routine, daily life. So maybe this is actually saying, hey, we can get us a routine together and we can conquer this world. Okay. For Libra risings is very important. Thanks, Lee. Oh, hey, Daddy Astral. Hey, everybody. I see you. That's my little henna that I got for the wedding. Libra, of course, Libra rising is someone says something about my thing. So Libra rising, absolutely clearing some decision making that you think you have to hold fast to, that you think to be true about your life, some way of thinking, like I have to think this way in order for life to go well for me. You can change your mind. Your also third house is short trips and local communities. So there could be some beliefs about the community you live in that you're letting go of. And that's also something that you need to keep in mind. So, I will say this at the solar eclipse for Libra rising, you will be able to start a new routine, to write a new truth for yourself. I'm very excited for you, Libra rising. Scorpio rising. Ooh, this is about self-worth and abundance for you. Okay. So you're going to let go of limiting beliefs about how much you are worth and how loved you are and how much money you can have. There is something holding you back there. There is a narrative that you need to kick out of your brain, Scorpio risings. You are abundant. You are worthy. And Jupiter and Neptune are in your fifth house. You have purpose and love, and there is romance and there is joy. You just have to see it. It's like seeing the forest for the trees, right? So let go of these limiting beliefs around abundance and money. Maybe that you don't have time to make that extra money and to do that creative side hustle. Okay. Yes, you do. And also you can make money from your creativity. All right. Fifth house is a lot about creativity, and that's where Jupiter and Neptune are. So really let go of those old beliefs, because once the solar eclipse comes around, you'll have room to make the investments and the contracts and the business partnerships that are really going to level you up. So, but you got to delete those old beliefs about how much you're worth. Sagittarius rising and Sagittarius sun. This is about your identity. So who you are as a person, how you show up, how you're seen in the world. Okay. You're really letting go of old beliefs about that. So maybe you believe you can't dye your hair red because no one will like it. And, you live in a southern town and they'll look at you like you're crazy. Well, let me tell you something. They will, and it won't matter. Okay. So South Node, lunar eclipse in your first house is really about letting go of old identity beliefs. The fact that you can't be there authentically, right? You can show up authentically. Thank you, Summer. I'm so excited to see everybody. It really is about you showing up authentically, Sagittarius rising. And I'm going to say that Jupiter and Neptune are in your fourth house of home, family, and roots. So there could be something that, maybe from childhood that's keep holding you back there. Some emotional security problem. Hey, Gina. That you are really letting go of an old belief about yourself that was seeded in childhood, right? So it is about counting on spirit for your emotional security, counting on your intuition. Okay. That's all that matters. And your family. If you have family, look to them for support as well. And if they're not supportive, those are the people that you don't need in your life. Okay. So let go of those limiting beliefs about yourself. Okay. All right, Capricorn rising, Capricorn sun. This is going to be in a very, very spiritual, dreamy area for you. So this really not going to have to do much, Capricorn risings, because this is happening in the place of background programming. So this is like that iOS update that I was talking to you about. Jupiter and Neptune are in your third house of the way your mind works, the way you think. So this square to that Jupiter in your third house is real. You may find yourself thinking differently or like having a different perspective. That's wonderful. Okay. And it could be to do with everyday life and work and health, because that's where the solar eclipse is going to be for you. So do some work around this full moon around spiritually releasing something that's no longer true, right? Maybe it's a spiritual truth or a dream that you had that you don't want anymore. Okay. That's what's very important for Capricorn rising. This is really about surrender for Capricorn risings. And I know that Capricorn risings don't do that very well. So spiritual surrender. Aquarius rising, Aquarius sun. This is in your 11th house of networking, groups, your tribe, and your goals. So some belief about where you can get to in life has to be deleted. Okay. That goal may not be big enough. Jupiter and Neptune are in your second house of abundance. So this is like, hey, that goal is not high enough. You can go further. Do not limit yourself. Those friends, they haven't really been supporting yourself. So you really need to take a good look at the people in your life. Are they supporting you? Are they a part of your tribe in the way that matters? Okay. That's what you're letting go of beliefs around all that. Maybe you don't believe you have a good friend group. You can. Okay. You are worthy enough, especially this Jupiter and Neptune in the second house of self-worth. Absolutely. Let go of feelings of low self-worth that are keeping you from the goals and the tribe that you really belong to and really need in your life. All right. Pisces risings, always last but never least. You are upgrading some stuff about your career. Okay. Letting go of limiting beliefs about career direction, legacy, public reputation, how you're seen in the world. I think people see me this way and I don't feel good about it. I think people see me that way and I just don't think I can change it. That's bullshit. Okay, Pisces risings, you can let go of limiting beliefs about how you're seen in the world, about the accolades that you get. You deserve more recognition and career. You deserve it and it's coming. Okay, and you're writing it into your emotional security during the solar eclipse, but you have to make room for these limiting beliefs at this lunar eclipse, because Jupiter and Neptune are in your first house of identity and who you are. You may decide to change something, that's fine, but don't change it based on the fact that you're afraid people are looking at you a certain way. Maybe it's about integrating who you are and saying, I need some attention. Okay, this is me. All right, so that does it for the rising signs. I will have this up on YouTube later. I'm really wishing the best for you during this lunar eclipse. It's probably going to be a quieter full moon than usual. Again, expect the crazy carnival vibes that I'm talking about. All right, expect the synchronicities. Follow those rabbits down their holes. I'm very excited for everybody, and I'm also like on the edge of my seat for everybody. Okay. All right. Let's see. Did I check in on Facebook? I don't think I have any comments on there. I love all of you. Thank you for tuning in. Always like, share, and subscribe. It helps me. I'm also, one more reminder, I have the 45-minute quickie eclipse season sessions on my website right now, ecstaticastrology.com. I would love to see you and work with you. All right, everybody, have a wonderful, wonderful Wednesday lunar eclipse. Thank you all for tuning in. Mwah.